This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
WABC New York and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 501. Good morning. It is Thursday, March 6th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. A mostly cloudy day on the way, but no rain in the forecast. The high 52. Tonight and overnight, the clouds roll out, colder, low 33, and then Friday sunshine, high 50. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 50 cloudy in Peekskill up in Westchester County, 52 and cloudy in Red Bank over in New Jersey, and it's 50 and misty right outside our Midtown windows.
The top 5 at 5.
Chaotic times on the campus of Barnard College. Lots of your neighbors are cleaning up from Wednesday's violent storms. Some violent attacks down below have commuters questioning the NYPD crime stats. Wait, what? Bodegas are doing something strange to their beloved egg and cheese sandwiches. And New Jersey Transit riders may soon be able to finally see where they're going. All right, let's get into it at 5:02. We'll start with the storms that blew through yesterday. There were some outages across the tri-state. Here in the city, it didn't seem so violent, but if you were in parts of New Jersey, up in the Bronx, in Westchester County, the storms were rather violent. There was some flooding. Trees came crashing down in Hillsdale, New Jersey, just about 3 o'clock yesterday. A tree cracked and fell over there.
It sounded like thunder. I'm thinking, what could have went that high up like that? I'm thinking, because it's the lightning or something. Is this the wind? It's blowing stuff up on the roofs and stuff.
Yeah, so that's the neighbor of the guy who got hit by the tree. And so he heard the crack, he heard the loud bang, ran outside and said, yeah, oh no, that's a tree in the middle of the house.
But once I ran out the house, I seen the tree was already snapped from down low. And I'm going, did the lightning hit that tree? Down low, the wind was just that rough.
Now, Fred Chase, that's the guy who owns the home where the tree came crashing down. He didn't want to really talk much, but he said, yeah, everything's messed up in his house, but thank God everybody's okay. The wicked weather brought traffic to a crawl in parts of Passaic County. There was a lot of flooding where flooding normally happens. Newark, it's always an issue there. There were problems there. Up in the Bronx, in Morris Park, same thing. Another massive tree came crashing down. This woman, her name is Denise, says the tree is from her yard.
There was a boom, a crash, and I thought it sounded like the garbage pail.
Nope, it wasn't the garbage pail. It was her tree falling on top of an SUV, not hers.
And all of a sudden my lights went out, and I heard a crash, so I thought it was the garbage truck picking up the recycle. And next thing I know, my tree fell on top of this red car.
Yeah, so that red car is all messed up. Thankfully, nobody inside, so nobody hurt. Up in Somers, it was a driver in a pickup truck who lost their way amid the heavy rainstorms. This was about 7 o'clock last night off Route 100 near Crossing Drive. They drove into what is like a pond in Somers. The great news is they were able to get themselves out of the car before it sank outside a window. Quick thinking. Firefighters say it's good this person was quick thinking because it could have been a whole lot more disastrous.
The biggest thing is to stay calm. We do recommend people keep safety devices such as window punches or a seatbelt cutter so they get out, and try to roll down the windows as soon as possible before the battery cuts out.
Now, are you like me? I have neither of those things in my car, by the way. At Barnard College at 5:05, there were more anti-Israel protests yesterday on the Upper West Side. The group of students taking over a building for a while. A bomb threat, though, pushed them out of that building. What are they upset about? That three of their fellow students at Barnard were expelled by the university over the fact that they invaded a modern Israel history class on the campus and then handed out flyers that were anti-Semitic. So they got the boot. moot, but these students say they shouldn't have been kicked out. And so they're trying to convince the president of the school, Laura Rosenberry, to reinstate these students. They had a conversation with the president yesterday as she was trying to convince them to stop their protests. Here's what that sounded like.
Dean Greenwich and I are happy to meet tomorrow or Friday morning with 3 unmasked representatives of your group who are Barnard students, and we can talk about this issue and others.
Our demand is to reinstate the expelled students because of how unjust this process has been.
Now it seems
we don't intend on leaving until that happens.
The president of the school doesn't seem like one who's willing to give in. She put out a statement yesterday saying school's academic mission is at the heart of what we do, and that disruptions to that mission are an affront to the purpose of higher education. Now, there was no bomb, by the way, in the building. It was just a threat. A lot of other students on this campus are not involved in these protests. In fact, the vast majority of the students have no either connection or they're not interested in the protests and just want to be able to get to class. And so it's never good when classes were disrupted or are disrupted like they were at Columbia last year. And now the sister school, Barnard, over the last couple of days.
I was concerned about the bomb threat. These protests, which I think don't see the whole picture, don't reflect our whole school community.
Can you imagine you're a student there? You know what it costs tuition to go to Barnard College? I just looked it up. $66,000 a year. And now you're getting your classes disrupted by these protesters. I mean, he was pretty calm, but he was pretty clear that he's not real happy about the fact that some classes were moved around, others were canceled amid these protests yesterday. WABC News Time 5:09. The NYPD's told us that crime is down some 16% down below on the subways, but you wouldn't know it from some recent incidents. One person's in custody after a teenager slashed in the face during a dispute on a subway platform on the Upper East Side. This was yesterday afternoon. The 17-year-old slashed in the side of his face. This eyewitness talking to Channel 7.
We saw the cop cars pull up on either side, and then they all came up, and then there was like 10 police people out there. It looked like one of the kids was hurt, and they had like their hand on their head, and they put him into the ambulance.
Yeah, so she said it looked like there was a lot of people involved.
It was 2 boys. 2 boys that I saw, and then later, like a few minutes later, there were 2 girls that came up the stairs like sobbing, crying. And it looks like they were kind of just ushered away with a couple of their friends.
Charges are pending against the stabber. We do not know who he is. The victim taken to New York Presbyterian, where he is expected to recover. And then there was just this awful incident that police have not solved yet involving a woman who's 7 months pregnant. Some creep. And creep is probably not harsh enough a word, but I can't use others, punched this woman who's 7 months pregnant as she was heading to the J train at the Jamaica Center Parsons Archer Avenue station. She was approached by this guy, punched in the face. It caused cuts, bruises, pain to her right eye. She was checked out. She's going to be okay, but police searching for this jerk who ran away after the attack. And, of course, that has riders on edge that somebody's willing to punch somebody who's clearly pregnant.
Me, I carry pepper spray 24/7, even walking, and transferring trains, because you never know what's going to happen to you.
Subway station has private security guards that are actually contracted by the MTA, but they are there to deter the fare beaters, not to root out violent crimes. So riders say, I guess it's up to them to figure it out.
I always feel a little bit scared when I'm riding it because you see some scary people.
Yeah, these attacks come just days after the NYPD says felony assault on the subway is down 16% this year. Gene Hackman. We don't have a whole lot more to tell you about what happened to him. I mean, they're giving us more information when they find it out, the police in Santa Fe, New Mexico. A week after the bodies of the Oscar winner and his wife were found in their New Mexico home, the cause of death is still a mystery today. But the Santa Fe fire chief says the New Mexico Gas Company has completed this exhaustive investigation of the house and can rule out that they died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
They checked the roof. They checked every vent. They checked every part that had to do with gas. They checked, and there was no major finding.
Now, Hackman's pacemaker tells us that it showed last activity on February 17th. And the fire chief says the bodies of Hackman and his wife were in similar conditions, suggesting they probably died roughly at the same time. Now, does that give us any clues?
I know there was blackening on the hands, and we know he was there for at least a week and a half. So it was about the same.
Yeah. So, okay, we don't know a whole lot more. 5:12 down to Washington, where all the talk over the last 48 hours have been these tariffs that have been placed on Mexico, Canada, doubled up on China. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau from Canada is upset, so he placed his own tariffs on American goods. The U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says that we're going to put these tariffs in place, not on cars just yet, because they're going to sort that out, because there was real fears that the price of cars would spike right away.
The automakers, for instance, as an example, they made their pitch, and what they said was, look, we're domestic American automakers, and if you put a 25% tariff on us, and you don't put it on the Germans, and you don't put it on the Koreans, and you don't put it on the Japanese, you're helping everybody but us.
Yeah,
so come on.
There were fears that cars could go up in price anywhere from like $5,000 to $12,000. So they're going to sort that out, and they're going to spend a month trying to figure it out. But the Commerce Secretary says that Canada and Mexico need to step up, make the field more level, a playing field for goods that come in and out of the U.S.
We need to see the Canadians and Mexicans put long-lasting protections in to protect America. Mm-hmm. You know, he said last night, it's on April 1st, but April 2nd, he's going to come out with his tariff agenda, and it is going to cause reciprocity in the world. Stop treating us poorly.
But Governor Newsom out in California, he's criticizing the White House's decision to impose these tariffs. He says it's really bad news for his state.
90% of these tariffs will impact bottom of our economic chain, meaning lower wage workers that pay over half of these taxes.
And Newsom says the tariffs will act like just a new tax on everyday Americans, raising prices for groceries and other essentials.
$3.89 trillion a year economy. There's no economic growth in America without the success and the vibrancy of this region and the state of California.
Newsom, though, says the tariffs could harm California businesses, too, exporters, particularly affecting the construction industry by limiting access to essential materials for disaster recovery in the aftermath of those Los Angeles wildfires. 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Friday Eve. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Friday Eve. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. It's actually Friday for me because I got the very happy occasion of the bris of my brand new nephew tomorrow. So you'll be without me, but we'll be back on Monday. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Regarding sports, that's why I'm here. We'll start in the NHL, and at the Garden, the Rangers lost in overtime to the Washington Capitals. The final score, 3-2. Alex Ovechkin got his 885th career goal to tie it midway through the third period, pulling 9 goals away from tying Wayne Gretzky's NHL record. Artemi Panarin and Sam Carrick scored for the Rangers, and Igor Shesterkin had 23 saves. New York, which began the day in a playoff position for the first time since December 11th, lost for just the second time in 6 games. They fell short of securing their first 3-game win streak since November 14th to the 19th, and with the loss, got swept in the season series against the Caps. Around the corner for the Rangers, they'll visit the Senators in Ottawa come Saturday. In the NBA, no local action was had last night, but both the Knicks and the Nets will return tonight. In Los Angeles, the Knicks get set for a 10 p.m. tip-off against the Lakers. Karl Anthony Towns will reportedly be available for the Knicks.
Really?
In that matchup, yes, after missing Tuesday's 114-102 loss against the Golden State Warriors for still undisclosed personal reasons.
Now, I saw some story, and it was only the headline, so I probably should have read the rest, but was it his sister or wife that posted something?
I believe it's still his girlfriend, Jordan.
Girlfriend.
Jordan, what's her name?
Sparks?
Woods or something?
Jordan Woods?
Something like that?
She
Sparks,
said that
Jordan Woods?
She wrote, like, cancer sucks or something like that, right?
Yeah, F cancer, I think is what she said.
Okay, that's what it was.
And, obviously, cryptic being the tweet. People rush to speculation. Could have been, somebody in her immediate family, somebody in Carl's immediate family. Could have been Carl himself. Could have been her herself. So, people begin to speculate over something like that, especially when it's the there's not much detail in that.
That makes sense to me, that he wouldn't want to talk about it, that some family member was just diagnosed with cancer and he wanted to take a day off or two to figure out how to handle it. And that makes sense, and why he's keeping quiet. And so if that's the case, okay.
Without a doubt. I mean, there's certain levels to this stuff, right? I mean, something's got to be serious enough, a serious enough personal matter to become an undisclosed personal matter, and I believe that this falls into that category.
I think so, too.
And a quick check-in on spring training here as well. Noam, nothing going on yesterday, but if you're into it today, the Yankees will go up against the Twins at 1:05 this afternoon, and the Mets, they'll get the Astros tonight at 6:10. That is your sports. No, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. There is a push in Congress now to rein in the paying of college athletes for their name, image, and likeness. It's supported by a former Abilene Christian football star. His name is Anthony Egbo. He testified at a Capitol hearing this week, and part of the issue here is every school has a different policy. So we only hear about the students who are getting these wild paydays, but not everybody's getting that.
NIL is a beautiful tool, but unfortunately the reality right now is that NIL is the Wild West.
Yeah, so he says different states and schools have different rules, creating this patchwork of regulations, and students, he says, are being taken advantage of a lot of the time. He says the so-called NIL collectives have created a pay-for-play system where players are dumped if they don't perform.
Different states and schools within those states are operating on different playing fields. To put it simply, everyone is not playing by the same rule book.
Now, the question is, will Congress step in to regulate all this?
Uniform rules and clarity are needed to ensure that NIL fulfills its intended purposes and is not harmful to the ones it was created to benefit.
5:21 down at the U.S.-Mexico border. Vice President J.D. Vance getting a tour yesterday, a firsthand look at the effect the Trump White House's tough-on-crime approach is having. Vance says the U.S. is going to use the military now to take out some of those drug cartels on the Mexico side.
The drone technology that the cartels are using requires, unfortunately, a military response and military support.
The vice president was down at the border with the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, and the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, on this tour of a Border Patrol detention facility in Eagle Pass.
Border security is national security. And from the Defense Department, we've watched for a couple of decades other people's borders being secured while ours was open for an invasion.
Let's go from the Texas-Mexico border overseas. The White House confirming it's holding direct talks now with Hamas over the release of U.S. hostages.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said President Trump believes the talks are part of a good faith effort to do what's right for the American people. The Palestinian militant group is designated as a terrorist organization by the U.S. Leavitt added that Israel had been consulted about the talks. A 6-week ceasefire between Israel and Hamas expired over the weekend. I'm Brian Shook.
And on Truth Social yesterday, the president issuing a public warning to Hamas, saying that he is sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job, and urged Hamas to release all the remaining hostages immediately. And then he writes this in capital letters on his Truth Social page, or there will be hell to pay later. From Israel, let's go over to Ukraine. The U.S. temporarily pausing sharing intelligence with Ukraine. That's according to the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz.
We have taken a step back and are pausing and reviewing all aspects of this relationship.
This comes after last week's really tense Oval Office meeting between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky.
We are having good talks on a location for the next round of negotiations, on delegations, on substance.
On Monday, you'll remember the U.S. paused military aid to Ukraine. The White House says the behavior from Democrats during President Trump's Tuesday night speech was shameful. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt criticizing Democrats for not standing and cheering for a number of topics the president spoke about.
The behavior of Democrats last night was completely disgraceful.
and demonstrated how severely out of touch they are with the American public.
There was a couple wild moments, including Texas Congressman, the Democrat Texas Congressman Al Green, not the singer, yelled at the president before he was escorted out of the chamber.
It was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that beautiful chamber.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the worst in history, but Levitt says there was a lack of respect.
In what was supposed to be a unifying moment for our country, Democrat members of Congress instead screamed at the President of the United States.
524, while we're in Washington, the IRS getting ready to cut as much of half of its workforce.
That's according to multiple reports. It's part of the Trump administration's efforts to cut down on federal workers. The IRS has around 100,000 employees and has not yet finalized the exact number it will let go. The agency will submit its plans to the White House in the coming weeks. IRS workers have been getting laid off since the start of tax season, which the agency says will not affect the processing of tax returns. I'm Michael Kastner.
WABC News Time 524. Some Republicans want to change the $100 bill, replacing Ben Franklin with President Trump. Texas Congressman Brandon Gill, he's leading the charge, says that the president took a bullet for this country, deserves to be honored for his Make America Great Again campaign.
We believe in getting America into the golden age, and I think that this bill that I put forward is a good way to show support for that.
This is not the first time there's been talk of changing the currency. President Andrew Jackson replaced President Grover Cleveland on the $20 bill. That was back in 1929, so you go back a ways. If passed, this legislation would wait for President Trump to leave office to put his picture on the bill.
We've had a very positive reaction from other Republican members. Of course, nobody from the other side of the aisle has gotten on board.
Oh, that's not shocking. There is a federal law, though, banning the use of a living person's likeness on our money. Congressman Gill says they want to support the president's plans, and they support the president. That's why they want him on that $100 bill. 525. Adidas says it has sold the last of its Yeezy shoe stock.
The company cut ties with Kanye West in 2022 after the rapper made anti-Semitic remarks. Now, 2.5 years later, it's gotten rid of all of his footwear line. The company's chief financial officer said in an earnings report Wednesday that there's not one Yeezy shoe left, adding that the episode is behind them. A portion of the sales went to the Anti-Defamation League and the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism. West and Adidas started their partnership in 2013. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
526, Texas Republicans want to post the 10 Commandments in all public school classroom. The bill's author, a state senator named Phil King.
Our kids are just crying out for moral clarity. I think they're crying out for a heritage to hold on to.
He says the Bible verse is already posted on a monument outside of the state capitol. That was upheld by the Supreme Court. A similar law was passed in Louisiana that triggered a civil rights lawsuit. It's currently pending before the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals there.
And understanding our religious heritage in America and in Texas, I think, helps embed that.
The state senator says this should not be controversial.
And remind students all across Texas of the importance of a fundamental foundation of American and Texas law.
But opponents, of course, will tell you that it violates the separation of church and state. The Menendez brothers challenging a decision now to let their murder case stay as is.
Los Angeles DA Nathan Hochman recently opposed the brothers' request for a new trial. Eric and Lyle Menendez argue that new evidence and witness testimonies could significantly impact their case and took to social media on Tuesday to announce their intent to challenge the decision. This development comes as the brothers continue to serve life sentences for the 1989 murders of their parents. The Menendez brothers are currently incarcerated at Donovan State Prison in San Diego County. I'm John Fink.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 536. Good morning. It is Thursday, March 6th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds today, the high going to be 52. Tonight and overnight, clouds roll out, cold, low 33, and then Friday sunshine, high 50 if you are walking out the door with us right now. 52 cloudy in Peekskill up in Westchester County, 52 and cloudy in Red Bank over in New Jersey, and it's 50 and misty right outside our Midtown studios. The Bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich is a bodega staple, prized, of course, for its simplicity. It's usually on the cheaper side, but the beloved breakfast item, of course, has gotten pricier because the price of eggs have climbed.
Just an egg, a couple slices of bread, and a couple slices of bacon. It shouldn't cost that much.
The price is too high. Yeah. Now the price is probably going to rise on cakes and anything else that you purchase that requires eggs.
Okay, so that all makes sense. We've heard that now for months. But the price of the bodega egg and cheese sandwich has actually gone down over the last couple weeks. So we sniffed around to see what was going on. And apparently now bodegas are no longer using actual eggs. Not all of them, obviously, because there's so many bodegas. But some of them are now using a liquid egg substitute to make the classic sandwiches. So they've gone down in price from what I've seen like $6 to like $4.
Same nutrition as a regular egg, but it costs a lot less.
I don't know. I think they taste a whole lot different. That's Fernando Mateo. He's head of the United Bodega Association. He says, eggs are expensive. They're like $10 a dozen if you go to a bodega today. So he says the liquid eggs are working, and it brings down the price of the sandwich.
Container of liquid eggs would cost us on or about $8 or $9. For 18 eggs, where 12 eggs is costing you 12. So it's probably about 30 to 40% less.
Yeah, but does it fry up and does it taste like an actual egg? That's what some people who buy their sandwiches at bodegas want to know.
That's nonsense, using the egg beaters.
Yeah.
That's like cheating the community.
Kind of is.
Nobody wants liquid eggs. I want an egg. If I'm going to pay for an egg sandwich, I want an egg.
I kind of agree.
I want you to crack the egg, not get it out of the container.
All right, after the show, I'm going to go and get one of these ones that's made with liquid eggs, and I'll report back to you. I bet at 5:37, traffic, transit, and on the 7s, that Joe Nolan might be very upset to hear that they're using liquid eggs as well.
They taste totally different.
Oh, they do?
Totally different. There's no question about it.
Is it liquid eggs?
Yeah, yeah, but it's processed. It's different. It tastes different. I think it does at least, but still, you need an egg and you need the bacon and you need the cheese, or over here in Jersey, the Taylor ham. Oh man, there's nothing better on a Sunday morning than an everything bagel with an egg and cheese and Taylor ham.
Oh, I'm right there with you, especially an everything bagel. Oh, forget it.
You get
that
bagel.
Salt, the seeds. Oh, it's great.
The garlic and everything on there. Oh,
I'd like to chase one of my egg sandwiches on Sunday. Sometimes I'll do this. I'll buy, those crumb cakes that they have, it's mostly crumb and just a little bit of cake. Oh, forget it. After you've had that salty egg, everything bagel, chase it with, and get the chocolate one.
And the bagel places have the best coffee cake.
They do.
They really, crumb cake. They really do.
Yeah. Oh, there's
I don't know
better.
where they get it from. Probably Brooklyn somewhere.
Yeah, it is funny. I have no idea, because you can't buy it anywhere else, it seems like. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just a thing. Chase the sandwich with a piece of coffee cake.
Yeah,
It's really
the top
good.
of my head will probably blow off, but all right, I'll try it anyway.
It'll be worth it, though. Mayor Adams is one of 4 Democratic mayors that was testifying in front of Congress on sanctuary city laws yesterday. During the opening statements, the mayor told this House committee that being a sanctuary city does not mean the city will ever be a safe haven for violent criminals.
Comprehensive immigration reform is long overdue. While the solution is not within my control as a mayor, I am committed to working with federal officials to go after violent gangs and those who harm residents of our city.
Now, back here in New York, the mayor has faced criticism from his own party for not doing enough to stand up to the Trump White House. And, of course, there's been those accusations that he's working with Trump in an attempt to get his federal corruption charges dropped.
A sanctuary city classification does not mean our city will ever be a safe haven for violent criminals.
While the mayor was testifying in front of Congress yesterday back here in New York, you had elected officials coming together to defend New York City's sanctuary status.
No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, the head of the Civil Liberties Union, a bunch of other lawmakers rallying at City Hall yesterday in saying that the mayor has been cozying up to the White House and not doing enough to stand up for New York's immigrant communities.
You must unambiguously defend our sanctuary laws and call out Trump's agenda for what it is: cruel, destructive.
This president dead set on upending our city, we need our mayor to show up and stand up for New Yorkers.
That's City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, who's now officially in the race for mayor on the Democratic side. And with the Democratic primary just 3 months away now, Mayor Adams' approval rating is dropped to an all-time low. Those federal corruption charges apparently still hanging over Adams' head is just 20% of New York City voters now say they approve of the way that he's handling his job. I mean, that's unbelievable. 20%. That's according to this new Quinnipiac poll, which also shows that 67% of New Yorkers disapprove of the job the mayor is doing. 56% polled say Adams should resign immediately. When Democrats were asked how they'll vote in the June primary, 31% at the top say Governor Cuomo. He's way ahead of everybody else, leaving even Mayor Adams, who's in second place, in the dust at just 11%. 544. Police continue to question the parents of a 4-year-old child who died from fentanyl poisoning at a Brooklyn family shelter earlier this week. The NYPD believes the child may have overdosed after being exposed to fentanyl at another shelter resident with I should say this. The NYPD believes the child may have been overdosed and exposed to fentanyl. And other shelter residents, of course, are worried when they hear this story, worried that there's fentanyl inside their shelter.
I'm scared for my 4-year-old too, so now once I get home, I'm going to check on him to see if he's okay.
Yeah, so first responders, including a hazmat team, they raced to this shelter in East Flatbush on Tuesday, where they found the boy unconscious inside an apartment. He was given Narcan, rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately early yesterday morning, he passed away. There are multiple reports that the child's mother and father were taking fentanyl at the time. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Here's Justin Alec.
Thank you, Noah Layden. We'll start here with the NHL at the Garden. The Rangers lost in overtime to the Washington Capitals. Final score 3-2. Alex Ovechkin got his 885th career goal to tie it midway through the third period, pulling 9 goals away from tying Wayne Gretzky's NHL record. Artemi Panarin and Sam Carrick scored for the Rangers, and Igor Shesterkin had 23 saves. New York, which began the day in a playoff position for the first time since December 11th, lost for just the second time in 6 games. They fell short of securing their first 3-game win streak since November 14th to the 19th, and with the loss, got swept in the season series against the Capitals. Coming around the corner for the Rangers, they'll visit the Senators in Ottawa come Saturday. In the NBA, no local action was had last night, but both the Knicks and the Nets will return tonight. In Los Angeles, the Knicks get set for a 10 p.m. tip-off against the Lakers. Karl-Anthony Towns will reportedly be available for the Knicks in that matchup after missing Tuesday's 114-102 loss against the Golden State Warriors for undisclosed personal reasons. We still don't know for sure why he was out. I'm not sure we'll find out anytime soon, but we'll keep you updated on that. But the news really is that Towns is available tonight for the Knicks. As for the Nets, they'll welcome in those aforementioned Warriors tonight at 7:30. And if you're into some spring training baseball this afternoon and tonight, you get the Yankees against the Twins today at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, before the Mets go up against the Astros tonight. That's at 6:10. That is your Sports Know, and I'm Justin Alec on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. Let's go over to the West Village. A Manhattan family in mourning today after their beloved mother and grandmother killed yesterday in a Greenwich Village fire. 81-year-old Jean Getz died in a fire that broke out in her Waverly Place apartment.
She's so sad, very sad. It's just a tragedy.
That's her heartbroken daughter, Natasha, says her mom had actually lived on the 5th floor of this brownstone since the 1960s and had raised a family there. Fire officials believe the cause of the blaze was an electrical issue in a kitchen or bathroom that was confined to Getz' apartment. Now, here's the wild part. Her grandson, Griffin, is about to take the FDNY's civil service test to join the fire department.
It'll make the job a lot more meaningful now that I have a personal reason.
Yeah, I bet it will. A sad story. Out on Long Island, another parent has come forward to say that her child was a victim of abuse at the Tudor Time Child Care Center in Lindenhurst. The parent says she saw an employee throw her son onto his cot through the daycare's live video feed. Now, it may have been a while since you've had your kids in daycare, but nowadays, when you have your kids in a paid daycare, usually there's a camera video feed going 24/7. So at any time, if you're sitting at desk at work, you can tune in and see what your kids are up to. And that's apparently when this woman saw her kid be abused. Now, this is her accusation. She wouldn't tell us who she was, but she did talk to News 12.
I called Suffolk Police. I called CPS. He no longer goes there anymore. I just don't feel safe.
Now, the New York State Office of Children and Family Services has issued multiple violations to tutor time in Lindenhurst, but not for that kind of stuff. It was like chipped paint, that kind of thing. But this woman detailing what she saw when she turned on the webcam to see what her kid was up to.
She grabbed him when he ran off his cot and carried him back and literally threw him down. I asked tutor time to watch it back. They assured me that they would do everything left, right, up, down to handle this, and they didn't.
Now, you'll remember last week we were talking about tutor time. Police arrested a 26-year-old worker there for allegedly pushing an 18-month-old face into a cot at that daycare center. She's on administrative leave as they do an investigation. This mom who has her kid there is just warning others that, this is what happened to my kid. Let's hope it hasn't happened to yours.
They needed to know that there are other families that can speak up and can say something.
Now, the Suffolk County Police Special Victims Section actually putting out something yesterday saying if you believe your child was a victim at tutor time, that you should give them a holler. Let's bring it back into the city at 5:51. There's a new push now to stop double parking across the 5 boroughs.
New York State Assembly member Stephen Raga is leading a charge to install cameras to catch double parkers across New York City. He says it comes at a cost of $35 million.
We would be working with the Department of Transportation to identify what are the target areas throughout the 5 boroughs that this would have the highest impact in.
He wants to add 150 cameras to catch double parkers, including delivery trucks and those blocking bike lanes. They'd work automatically, just like red light cameras. I'm Lisa Ritchie for 77 WABC News.
There is some beef now between the state of Texas and the state of New York.
The Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, wants to follow the trend of name changes and rename the New York strip steak the Texas Strip.
The name was coined here. This is a New York strip. It's just not as tender, I would say, as a ribeye or a filet. It's just the perfect meat combination.
Owning partner of Delmonico's in Manhattan, Dennis Tersidovich, points out that the famous eatery where the name comes from was opened nearly a decade before Texas was even part of the Union. Patrick says that liberal New York should not get the credit for hardworking ranchers in the Lone Star State. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
What does liberal New York have anything to do with it anyway? New Jersey Transit speeding up window replacement in all of its multi-level cars. Passengers have been complaining for a while that the windows are scratched up, hard to see through. So this massive job apparently going to take 3 years, and the windows will be replaced. So when you're commuting to work, you'll be able to actually see where you're going.
We want to address an issue that our customers have complained about a lot, which is the cloudy windows on our multi-level 1s and 2s.
So that is all about apparently improving customer service. New Jersey Transit President Chris Calori there says it'll be a costly project, not cheap. But of course, the question is, who put in those original windows that are so crappy? Maybe they should be blamed for this.
The total cost of this program for the materials will be about $18.5 million.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Probably should just put the right windows in the first place. We've been talking about this story of this high school wrestler, this star wrestler who's been involved in this controversy now for like 2 solid weeks. So if you haven't been following this story, it started 2 weeks ago. Anthony Knox Jr. was in a wrestling match. He's a senior in a wrestling match in Collingswood, New Jersey. And when he finished his match, he saw that his mom and dad, who were in the stands, were being surrounded by fans of the other team, of the other high school. And it looked like it was going to get violent. So he raced up to defend his parents, may have thrown a punch in the process. And when that happened, the New Jersey Sports High School League, they have a longer name than that, but they're in charge of high school sports in New Jersey, told him that was it. He had left the bench as a wrestler and disqualified from ever fighting again. Now, this is a champion. This is like considered one of the best wrestlers in the country, not just in New Jersey. So they were going to deny him a chance to get his final wrestling championship. That was last weekend. It was the initial bout. He was able to get a judge to side with him. He hired a lawyer, and he was able to fight last weekend. Then fast forward to this week, one of the people that was involved in this dust-up with him in the stands was going to file charges against him. So now back was this New Jersey high school authority saying they were going to deny him a chance to fight for the championship this weekend. Again, what would be his final match as a senior in high school. And again, now a judge has sided with him. The judge ruled that the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association did not allow Anthony Knox Jr., that's his name, due process in defending himself. And so thank God they will let him fight this weekend for the state championship, which everybody thinks he will win. But boy, this kid's gone through a lot. And it's all the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association just not behaving correctly. I mean, I don't know how you can deny a kid who did the right thing, defending his parents in the stands, and then try to deny him a chance to hold on to his wrestling championship belt, especially as a senior. Now, the good part is he will wrestle in college, and hopefully they'll leave him alone when he gets to college. And we'll end with this story at Manchester Ridgeway Elementary School in New Jersey, where a lunch aide and a phys ed teacher are being called heroes, and they really are. A kid was in the cafeteria at lunchtime. He started to choke on some food, so Alyssa Testa and the phys ed teacher, Reed Stapp, went in to help him.
I turned around. The student was bright red and had his hand on their throat, indicating that they were choking.
I just heard my name, and I looked over, and she was like, he's choking.
Thank God to training. They both were trained. They were able to give this boy the Heimlich maneuver, dislodge the food that was caught.
When I helped him using the Heimlich, couple thrusts to help it dislodge from his throat.
And that kid is okay. And both teachers were being teachers in this moment where they say, the part that they were amazed at was, of course, that they were able to get the food out of this child's throat, and he's doing just great today. But also, he said, the way the kids in the cafeteria reacted. They sat there, well, rather silently and let the teachers do what they needed to do.
But the students remained silent. They sat in their seats. They didn't cause any other ruckus in the lunchroom and just kind of let us do what we needed to do. I couldn't be more proud.
That sounds like much like a teacher. Alyssa Testa, Reed Stapp, definitely both heroes.